the go.
What a powerful show! That's another one, no. Tamika and Peter and Kutelwa. Live with Tamika. Truthful Tuesday, they need it for sure.
Live with Tamika. Fearless Friday, they need it more and more.
Live with Tamika. The most I will bless us for sure.
Live with Tamika. Just global, here we go. We motivate, we elevate you to higher heights. Determination as we empower your mind. Building confidence, you will be surprised. D-O-V-S, we are on the rise.
When we are rising and driving, we not compromising. We come for preaching too. When we are shifting, uplifting, only got the youth. Tell them we come to be great. We train the men to be kings, women to be queens. Help us build a self-esteem. Lord, with thy name, we'll never put you to shame. Lord, they cannot support you a day.
Live with Tamika. Fearless Friday, they need it more and more.
Live with Tamika. Truthful Tuesday, we need that for sure. Live with Tamika. That's global, here we go.
We motivate, we elevate you to higher heights. Determination as we empower your mind. Building confidence, you will be surprised. D-O-V-S, we are on the rise.
When we are rising and driving, we not compromising. We come for preaching too. When we are shifting, uplifting, only got the youth. Tell them we come to be great. We train the men to be kings, women to be queens. Help us build a self-esteem. Lord, with thy name, we'll never put you to shame. Lord, they cannot support you a day.
Live with Tamika. Fearless Friday, they need it more and more.
Live with Tamika. Truthful Tuesday, we need that for sure. Live with Tamika. That's global, here we go.
Doves Global, creating memorable moments as we socially connect you to the world.
Good night, my humans, and welcome to another. Let me throw my hair to the right. Another live with Tamika. Truthful Tuesdays, keeping it real tonight. Listen to me. I got need y'all to tune in, like, and share, because tonight is going to be beautiful. I say it's going to be beautiful. Okay. So tonight, joining me is my human, my good friend. Yes, my good friend. And we are going to be talking about surviving and still standing after all that you would have gone through. And so, as we always do, let's get some business out of the way. We're going to open up in prayer, and then we're going to get right together. We have good conversation tonight. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for guiding us, protecting us, and leading us. We present this live to you, God. We ask, oh God, that whatever would be said and done on this live, that someone would be strengthened, encouraged, and motivated to know that in the midst of everything that they are going through or they would have gone through, that they can still stand. They can still live again. They can still find hope again. And we ask, oh God, that you would take full control. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So tonight, joining me is Shakara Cargo, and she's going to share her story, and I'm going to share mine. So we're going to have a conversation tonight. And I just want you to understand and know that tonight is not about anything other than sharing our story. Now we know we are humans and we can be real, and I'm telling you now, we don't want nobody coming after nobody. It ain't that kind of party. Thanks. This is a platform that sincerely caters to the well-being, the mindset, the rejuvenation, the restoration of people. People sharing their stories, helping one another. That is all. And so tonight, as we share our stories, we're not looking for any negativity. We're not looking for any you say, I say. We're not looking for finger pointing. We are simply sharing our stories to help somebody else get out of a situation that they are possibly in. That is all. Disclaimer. Hello, my darling. How are you?
Nervous, but I'm well. I'm well.
Awesome, wonderful. I was earlier this week I was reflecting on um, probably a couple of months ago, maybe even a year, and I said to you, I don't know if I said it out public to you, but I said it in my mind. I said I would love for her to come and share her story. I have gone through and seen and you know heard many things that would have happened in the past, and I'm like, people can be so brutal and not knowing exactly what the situation is and how it would affect people, you know?
Mhm.
And so I've heard a bit of your story, and I'm like, God, I would love for her to come on the show just to share her story. But one thing I always said, um, when people are comfortable and onto the point where they are willing and ready to share their story, that's the best time, because if you prematurely do it, you're only going to say things out of hurt and out of anger, and when you have gotten to the place where you can share your story without being mad, without busting a word, without crying, without getting frustration, then you've grown. You know that your healing is now starting to take place. And so, as we share our story, we pray and we hope that if it's one human that can identify, or whatever we may say may resonate, that it would give you an encouragement to speak your truth, because it is your story. Only you one lived it, and only you one know how you feel and what you had to go through and endure. And so tonight, my dearest, I want to welcome you to the Live with Tamika show, and whatever it is that God has for you to say, you say it. And we're just giving our honest feedback, experience in this regard. And so we kind of talked earlier, so we want to touch on one or two things in specific. And I'm just going to ask her just to share, however God leads her, your story, ma'am.
Thank you. Hi, Facebook. Um, Happy International Women's Day. Let's start with that. We have women out there doing some amazing
Yes.
things, and I think this is fitting on International Women's Day. We're here liberating women from whatever it is. So I just want to start with, I guess I could start at the beginning. That's usually the place to start.
Yeah.
So as Tamika said, my name is Shakara. I grew up in a Baptist church. My family's predominantly Catholic, but my mom made sure that we attended church every Sunday. So I was religious. I did my best to, always be good, strive for excellence. I was a little perfectionist. And yeah, that's my struggle for truth. I have a little perfectionist streak in there somewhere that I'm working on, but I got all of that from my grandparents. And my aunts and uncles, they did a phenomenal job raising me. So I went on into life, thinking that I could conquer the world, and so that's how I approached a lot of things, especially in my teenage years. Um, so I had my first kid. I was 19. Hi, Sean, if you're watching. And that kind of changed the way that I saw life. When I was a teenager in college, I used to get in a lot of trouble. I used to fight a lot. I used to duck school. I mean, in high school, I almost didn't even graduate. It was like, and it even funny because it was like 2 weeks left in school. I was left out of school to
Man, stop it, I say.
But anyway, so I had it was I was a I wasn't bad, but I wasn't the best either. So I kind of took life by the horns, and I thought that ain't nobody was bigger or better than me. That was the way that I saw it. I could go there, say what I want, do what I want, and you know, I just deal with the consequences later. So I had Sean, and that kind of softened me up because I was like, okay, I can't be out here fighting in the nightclub and going to the police station because people looking for. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I decided that I would, lead a more settled life, try to be a good parent, try to be the mom that I didn't really have, and so I met Elsa I was working at Commonwealth Bank at the time, and I remember working in the training room, and I was like, I don't want to be working in the bank. Y'all don't make no money, and so I was telling her how I was going to be a dancer, and so
You
yeah,
can be a dancer.
yeah, I thought I was going to be able to make plenty money. I was like, by the time I reached 25, I
Of
had a
course,
house,
of
car,
course, of
and
course.
all the money, and she was like, no, you should come go to church with me, and so I was like, well, I guess I'll come to church with you, and so I went to church with her, and that's how I started in church. I was at East Street for a while, and I got very involved. I thought I was doing my thing. Like I decided that I would lead a better life. I took my son to church, and I tried to model what I thought a good mom was going to be. I was a single mom at that time, so I just don't want my son to be out there all willy. And so in church, I met not my ex-husband, but I met my um, husband at that time. And I just was so head over heels. I took him home to the family, and everybody gave their thumbs up. It was like, oh, this is such a great improvement. It's so good, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, I'm so happy. Yay. And um, I was just excited. Like I thought that I had my son. I had somebody who said that they would love me for me. And, he took in Sean at that time. And I was like, okay, this is great. And then I found out that I was pregnant. Now, y'all can figure that out on your own, but I found out that I was pregnant, and one of the prerequisites for any familial assistance, if I could say that, was that we had to get married. That should have been a red flag. But I was like, oh, this is so cool. These people welcome me with the open arms, and um, you know, my dad was like, this kind of soon, Carrie. You sure this is what you want to do? And I was like, yes. They love me and this is great. And then, because it was so short notice, I may have found out that I was pregnant like May-ish, and we got married that August. And so, you didn't really have that time to plan. And so it was like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll pay for the wedding. Second red flag. So they bought all the stuff. They paid for everything. My family contributed. Like they made sure that all of the things behind the scene were done, but all of the heavy lifting they did. I just thought it was so cool. Like these people here I am, going to church. They got involved with church people, and I was just like head over heels, and it was just so. At that time, I was just excited. Like I'm now 21, moving on my own. I spend most of my time with family, so you know I'm an adult now, but I really out here doing this. And he was still in school at that time, so like I said, one of the prerequisites for them to assist was for us to be married and all of us to go live together. So we went off to school where he was to finish, and shortly after getting married, I had a miscarriage. So we got married when we got over to the U.S. Mm-hmm. Then about a week or two later, I miscarried. And I thought that was one of the hardest things that I could have ever faced. And so, as a newlywed, a young person, and I'm looking to this person to help me, and it was like, it's all your fault. And I'm like, I didn't understand. Like, how is this my fault? Like, I didn't tell the babies to come out. But everything was my fault, and I was like, anyway, well, you know, it is what it is. I can't take it back. Like I can't put it back in there. And like I don't
I
even
was
know.
about to you say me. I'm
I
like,
don't even know
come
if I
on.
was gonna manage that. Jesus, God is good. Anyway, at that time I didn't understand, but I really do understand it now. I couldn't like you can imagine with three little boys. Sean would have been maybe three, and then I'd had these two little boys. Like, I'd have been balls. But anyway, so miscarriage, and then the person that I thought I was married to was like I didn't even know where he went till he was gone, and it was like you know I found I was home by myself a lot. It was just me and Sean, just hanging out at the house, and then it was like a lot of drinking, and then he started to get like aggressive, and I was like, we should probably talk about this. I'm not big on talking right now. That's a challenge. Like, challenge. And so I was like, maybe we should talk about this because that's a big thing. Because we got married, we moved. I'm here right with you. It's just us, and then we lose the babies, and it's like, let's have a conversation. He's like, I don't know, I'm not going to talk to you about this. It's all your fault because you can't keep the baby. But I don't care. Like, I already have a child. My body has already proven that it can bring forth children. Now you with no children, as you know, this was always a problem. So I'm like, you with no children, like, you know. Because anybody who should be examining themselves, should be you. But nonetheless, we found out what the issues were, and finished school, came back to Nassau, and it was like this cycle of abuse and toxic behavior just started, and I remember saying to myself, what in the bleep did I get myself into? And I have uncles, like I have six uncles, and so to me, I'm like, I come from this family with a lot of men, and here I am now, cowering to this guy that I didn't know. And I saw a lot of things, like, everybody has their own sin. There were a lot of things going on, but men hitting women, like, that wasn't it. And so to me, that was a really big shock. And I just was like, maybe it was something that I did. And so I started to be a little bit more quiet. And I was like, maybe I should stop being so outspoken. And if this is what he says, then we should just do that. And I started to change myself so that relationship would work. And it was like the more I changed, the more he wanted. So it was like I could never really give enough. And it started to get hard. And it was made worse, I feel, by the fact that he really wanted to. So we kept trying, and I kept thinking after a while it'll get better. Things will be better. It ain't always be like this, and it just kept going just like this. And so I was like, maybe we should stop trying not to just focus on this relationship because it's not gonna work. Like this isn't healthy. And that's my goal. Like this ain't healthy. Like this ain't normal. Like people who love each other don't treat each other like this. Like you should um not want to be home. And you shouldn't come home at wee hours of the morning and leave out and I gotta clean up after you. Like that's really not what I signed up for. And so I spent like the first few years trying to figure out as young people, how do we navigate us being young? Because like I said, I would have been 21, so he would have been maybe 25, 26, 24, or 25. Anyway, doesn't matter. So he had been a little bit older than I was. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, so we both came from partying and going out. And it's kind of like abruptly going into this situation. Like maybe it's just that we need to figure out how best we can navigate that.
Whew. Listen, you done touch on so much things that I had pinned in corners. Um, I want to ask you before in the dating process, like, there are so many times we see and realize things, but we don't pay attention to it. And we don't realize it until after the fact. Like, who would have thought that the person that I'm dating now would turn out to be the person that, like, who's this? Where did you come from? And then that's one. And then, leading up to, okay, to the decision that, you're going to get married. Um, Here's my thing on that. And I'm a now believer that when you're going to jump into something like that, you listen, you have to know and understand what you're getting into, baby. You know, and I can say this confidently. Had I had a proper support system where the persons that um, was supposed to have been there to help me in my marriage, I may have had a marriage today. I can count on my hand the persons that sat down with me, actually maybe three, um, and that's my pastor and his wife, and maybe one or two other persons. And they gave me their brutally honest. But here's the thing: we waited a little too late. So by the time that he was ready to do counseling, I was at a place where I was not interested anymore. I was just going for the ride. Listen, you want to fine, let's go. You know, they only gonna tell you what I've been telling you all along. You know, and you see, and the thing is, like, how were you counseled? Did you get the pretty end of the stick, or did you get
What is
the?
counseling for 500 people? The challenge was that nobody really wanted to address it. And I think that was the biggest problem that we faced. Nobody really wanted to address the issue.
Why? I don't care.
It doesn't say, you and I would say, it doesn't matter who you are, but when you are who you are, who's going to stand up and tell you that would you go to the queen and say, hey, queen, you can't sit like that? If the queen would sit with her legs, not together, ain't nobody can go to her and say, queen, you need to cross your legs like that. Nobody's going to do that. And so that was the reality of the situation. And it wasn't a lack of asking. And when originally, I never said anything. And then after maybe like 3 years, I was like, okay, I just can't keep doing this. And I remember I went to his parents and they were like, oh, maybe it's because your daddy wasn't there with you and you don't know how to respect male authority. And, maybe it's because you didn't grow up like this or you didn't do that. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, there's nothing. Yeah, I may say some things too, but there's never really an okay reason for that.
Right.
And not only is this guy hitting me, like he's supposed to be protecting me. Like if my one husband was hitting me, like what I expect the people on the street to do. And I remember specifically, it was a long. It was the road wasn't long, but it was hard. And I remember walking to the police station one night. It had been like 11:30, maybe closer to midnight. And I didn't say where I was going. I just put on my clothes and I left. I got Sean and then just walked out the house. I found the police station. I called his dad. He was like, "Oh, why would you walk out the house? Suppose something happened to you." And I was like, I would rather be walking to the police station and some strange person pick me up and rape me and kill me than to be in a house with a man who said that he's going to protect me and I don't know what's going to happen next. And he was like, "Oh, something wrong with you? You need therapy." Baby, like this young child, this young child carrying on like this. And so that was like we had that cycle going for quite some time. It was, this year and move out and then after a while I only had that just one. And then I had the other kids, there were like several miscarriages between there. Yeah. And we have had like maybe 5 or 6 miscarriages before I had tonight. And I remember by the time that I got pregnant with tonight, I was like, I was like, God, please don't let me
and that leads me to my next question. Like, how did it play on you mentally? Like, not only you, but Sean, because now he's in an environment and he's watching you and he's watching your husband at the time. And then, as a child, you're seeing these things, you don't understand it completely, but it still plays oh,
something? Going through it, I didn't consider that. I didn't. Like, I didn't consider him and how he was being affected by that. Because I'm like, he's still young, he doesn't understand. And so I was like, he doesn't understand. And hopefully by the time he does catch sense, for lack of a better word, like this part of it will be over. And that's what a lot of people kept saying. Like, you go to the people in church and they're like, oh, you can grow out of it. Things happen. And then they tell you stories about women who survive years and years of abuse and then their husbands just miraculously become better men. And it's like, I don't want to live like that. Like,
no.
I don't want to be that way. And so So I didn't consider how he was affected. Now I speak to him now, and he's like, mommy, a lot of times I didn't like this or I didn't like that, and I'm like, geez.
Yeah.
And what hurts the most now that I listen to sometimes, like the girls would ask random questions, and then they'd be like, you remember this? And I'd be like, wow, like I didn't know that you were paying attention. But they will ask some questions that it would make me sit back and think to myself, I really messed them up. Like that.
But here's the thing. I wouldn't say you messed them up. I would say at that particular time, coming into a situation, not having a full understanding of what exactly you're getting through. So here it is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You're basically going through the motion. You are learning as you're going, adapting as you would have gone. And so, one as a human, and two as a mother, you know, you're just trying to be the best person, still trying to please everybody at the same time. And I can attest to this because um, I have gone. Well, I'm still legally attached, but at the moment we're in process of getting a divorce. And so when we initially um, got married, I had Tara. When I say I had everything to move in our own place, every single thing. 2 months before we got married, his dad died, and I was like, so he was like, okay, so we can't really. I really don't want to leave my mom home in the house by herself. I don't care. I said, I don't care. And I didn't mean it to sound harsh or anything. And like I said to him, I said, two women can't live in this thing. It's gonna end terribly. And for the longest we had an argument back, we were back and forth with it. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. No, I don't want to do it. I said I don't. And I'm like, okay, so this is my husband, and I'm gonna be submissive, I'm gonna listen. And I said, okay. So we moved, and let me tell you, the first uh, couple of weeks, maybe months or so, it was all right. And then, I started to realize things, and I'm like, what the? And in the midst of it all, see, I said nothing. I said nothing. And she would row from morning till night when something happens, or if she gets in that particular mood. And so here it is. I'm she's talking to him, but she's cussing me out. And she would say certain things. Up to this day, I can't tell anybody but God what she has said, because the type of family that I have, they just shoot first and ask questions later. So for peace of mind, you know. And I remember telling him, I can't do it. Like I can't do this, babe. Like it's not fair. Here it is. I'm coming to you as my husband. I'm lodging my complaint. Babe, and you ain't doing nothing about it, babe. Like, how am I supposed to feel? Like I said, I don't, when we got married, I don't give a 5 cents for your parents and mine. It's you and I, you know? And I felt betrayed. I listened to me. I had moments where I said everything in the book. I did. And it was out of frustration, it was out of anger. I'm still talking on to that. I went into a situation where I still wasn't properly trained. I still didn't have an idea as to really what's going on, because they only give you the pretty story. Oh, when you get married, it's gonna be this and it's gonna be that, but the reality is you
It's a lot
can't.
of work. It's a lot of work, and I don't think we were ever really. I don't think you're ever really prepared for it to say that it's going to be perfect. But I think that both people need to be willing to make it work.
Yeah.
And so I can't want to make something work if you are completely against that. And that was, I guess, that's another one of those struggles. But it was just one of those things where I was like, I'm already here, so just gotta make the best of it.
Definitely. I totally understand. And I remember telling my husband at the time, well, I mean, you know, I said to him, I said, when I got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore, I said, listen, I can't do this anymore. It's either my family, because at that time I was pregnant with the last baby. I said, I can't do this anymore. I have contemplated suicide, pregnant and suicide. I said, I'm going to do I can lose my people. And I thought, and I'm thinking now, he's going to come with me and you know, and we're going to, you know, and he said, oh, no, that's not up.
I think that I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it's I later in life realized that a lot of people are narcissistic. We don't really like we hear a lot about narcissism now or narcissism now, but 10 years ago, a lot of people didn't really know what it is. Mental health in the Bahamas is a joke. Like nobody really takes into
No, they don't.
consideration that
They
there's
don't.
an issue until
It
it's
is.
too late.
It's a great issue.
And so that was, I think now, like in hindsight, when you think about some of the things that happened, like, something, that's what it is. And you
Yeah.
can't really, like, I can't fix that. And I think one of the biggest things for me, like, when I was, when I was married, and I was in church. And so I found my outlet in church. Like, I became one of those church people in
Okay.
that, youth group, children's
You
church.
just dove
I
in,
did,
got
and I did
involved.
everything, and I was in leadership, and I was like, I'm doing all of these things for God, and like it caused like it really hit my faith, and
Can I tell you? Can I
yeah,
tell
it really
you?
hit my faith, and like to this day, I struggle with that because in my mind, I'm like, I did all of these things for God. I paid my tithes, I took my kids to church, I was involved, I was
God, I could do
yeah,
that.
like all of these things, children's church, women's ministry,
In a
youth
circle.
ministry, yeah, in a circle president. Hey, like I was doing it, leadership. Like I was in everything, national leadership. I was doing all of that, and still, like I was attached to a guy who really just couldn't give two left feet about anything. And I think that to me, it was like, God, I'm doing my part. I kind of need you to show up and do your part. But what I didn't realize is I moved out several times. The first two times I moved out, it was like a real struggle. I was making enough money to take care of it, and he wasn't helping. So when I moved out, if you really don't want to love these, and that's what his dad told me, like, but coming out of the last time, like, well, if you don't want to be married to a man, you must know how you're going to take care of these children because you can't have the luxuries of the marriage without being married. And, like, for true, Sammy, I can tell you a story. Like, this was one of the final nails in the coffin.
I don't mean to laugh. I'm
Don't
not
laugh.
laughing. I'm not laughing like laughing. I'm just laughing like in like.
No, because
what?
these are the people who, and this is where the church hurt comes in. And these are the people who, when we really need help, we go to them and we say, hey, like if it was some random off the street, they'd be like, okay, this what to do, this what to do. Because it's me, it's like, oh, I can get that. I don't worry about it. You come to the women's retreat, and that was it. Like I just told you that for the last, this would have been maybe like 5 years. I just told you for the last maybe 5 years, your son was sitting on you, and you asked me if I come to the women's retreat on the weekend because you wasn't paid for it.
Let me ask you this. And we know we have some viewers that are going to go back and report word for word, but understand what it is that we are about or the message that we are portraying and want persons to understand. This does not come from a place of pointing fingers or retaliation. This comes from a place of now healing, sharing, and to help somebody else. And so, exactly.
My mom used to tell me, you're in the first car and you're in the
Exactly. And so my thing is, I don't care how high you are on the ladder. Real is real. Truth is truth. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. I'm a fair person. And and Tia Tamika, make sure now, Tia Tamika, I have a problem when leaders come straight down, will not justify and say, listen, this is wrong. This is, come on, we are humans. Lay aside, put aside whatever title or position that you have and come down to being human as your daughter, as your son. Listen, this is this is true. I understand what you're saying. I didn't have it like how you did, or you know what I'm saying. This is what I had to go through, or this is how I dealt with it. Give sound advice. Help somebody get better, become better. You know, and like I said, we probably may have still been married if we had that. Well, from my ear to the right.
Yeah, do it that
You
way.
know,
Exactly.
but still, you know, it still boils down to the respect aspect. You know, respect is a two-way street.
Yeah.
In order for you to have it, you have to give it before. And you know, I said to my dad, I remember saying to my dad, I said, Daddy, I cut different. I said, when I said to the man I really attached to, I said, I wanted a divorce. And I said to him, I said, and on top of that, I'm seeing somebody. And I said to him, I said, I'm telling you this out of respect. And I said, let me tell you why. I am not going to be the woman that's going to be hiding, ducking, dodging, either talking to somebody, seeing somebody else. I am not going to be that person. Nor am I going to stay in a relationship that I am unhappy. Nor that I'm going to put up with whatever, be it mental or physical or whatever it is. I am not. Gone are those days where women sit and take that. I'm not knocking it. That's what you want to do. That's on you. But as Tia Tamika said, I'm not about that. You know, I believe, like you said earlier, I believe if we're gonna get in this together, we're gonna help each other. Yes, we're gonna have some days where I may want to pinch you, or I may be like, listen. But
you
it
have to know
shouldn't.
where the bottom line. That's the thing. Like you have to know
Bottom
where the
line.
bottom line. And I just don't think. I think I don't know what goes on in anybody's head. But you can. To me, I feel like you have to have that much self-control. Like you have to know. Like there are days when I wanted to, like I could say some really mean things, and I can do some really bad things. Like there were a lot of things that could have been done, and I said, something that's probably not the best thing. But if you have to have self-control, so you can't control yourself. A lot of times, what people try to do that is to control other people. So you have no control over your own self, and so you try to inflict that control on me, and it just it at some point you have to just be tired, and a lot of times people don't realize that because I smile and I show up to church every Sunday, and you call me I'm gonna show up, but at some point I am gonna get tired, and nobody ever thought that she's gonna get tired, and I think that because you have people like, and you can imagine being in leadership. Like I said, I wasn't just going to church. Like I was leading the women's ministry, the youth, the inner circle, but you know what the difference is? And I find that authenticity builds better relationships. And so, okay, yeah, I had a son when I first came to this church. Okay, nobody died, at least not because of this. So I am who I am. This is what happened to me. But you know what a lot of people do? They get in church and then they forget. You had a past. Like you weren't always saved. And I never really hid that from anybody. And so the relationships that I built with some of the young women in church, like to this day, they'll still hit me up periodically, like, hey, Carol, we miss you. You come back in next year? No. Send me a WhatsApp. If I can help you, I'll help you. But, probably not going to do that. And, because, Tommy, like I said, I was in leadership. And when I went to my pastor at that time, I was like, this is a real problem. Like, I need help. And he was like, well, did you guys speak to the parents? And I was like, yes, but they didn't help me. I need help. Like, I really need help. And I was like, okay, well, we can see what we can do. And we had a meeting scheduled. And this was our attempt at counseling. And then midweek, he was like, oh, I can't help you. But you come in to teach on Sunday. And I was like, what? I resigned, and it was at that point I decided, something, this isn't for me anymore, and I started and drafted an exit plan, and I was like, okay, I give myself 3 years because I need to get a new job, I need to make more money, and I need to be able to survive with 3 kids without the guys out, because you've already proven to me, and they've already proven that once I leave the shelter of this marriage, I have to do it on my own, and so I did, and I told them that. This was the same year they asked me, you still come with the women to treat? I was like, what? And so I made a plan and I told him and I said, in 2 years I'm going to file for divorce. I can't afford it right now, but I just telling you, like, I cannot continue to live like this. And either you can kill me or I can kill you. And I need my children to be raised by me because I don't want that for them. And I don't want them to be like just out there knocking around. Like I want to be there to take care of my kids. And I remember telling them that, and that was in like August or October, but this was in October. So that was like October 2017. And then he called his lawyer friend who's also big in the church. And they were like, oh, come, let's talk. And I was like, I don't want to talk anymore. Like, I don't. And it came down to one night. This was like 3 a.m. And like, it was like really late. And I just couldn't be bothered. And I don't want to, I didn't, I stopped sleeping in the room. I started sleeping in the room with the kids. Like, I would sleep on a blanket on the floor in the corner of the kids' room because I just did not want to be this guy. Like, we have a king size bed, but you could have it. And I took my pillow and I took my blanket, and when the kids went to sleep, I would make up my bed right on the floor, and I would lay down and go to sleep, and then in the morning I would set my alarm, take all my stuff back, then wake the children up and cry, and nothing ever happened. And to me, it was like, I can't keep living like this. And one night he came home pissy drunk, like ridiculously drunk, and he started like carrying on, and I was like, I was laying down because he wasn't there, so I was sleeping in the room, and when he came in, he wanted to touch. I said, I don't want to touch you. I don't know where you been. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And like, get away from me. No. And so he was like, oh, well, you don't want to sleep here. You must know where you want to sleep. And he threw all my stuff in the hallway. And I was like, what is this? And then it was, I said, okay, I'm going to respond. If I just leave him, I'm going to leave him. And he never went away. And he, like, dragged me off the bed. And I remember all my things, I put it on the blanket up. I said, you know something? I don't have to deal with this. So I went out front and I sat down and I was like, okay, let's just give it some time. And then I went back to get my things. Because at this point, I'm like, okay, bloody ass sleeping there tonight. So I went back to the door. So I was like, hey, open the door, I need to get my stuff. And then I said, yeah, I'm in the room now. And I was like, listen, like, I gotta go to work. I gotta get children up in the morning. I don't have that kind of time. It's almost 12 o'clock now. I am tired. And he refused to open the door. And so I said, okay, I'll count to 3. Since he won't be big and bad, we can see right now, tonight, who's the biggest and who's the baddest. And we have a nice long hallway. And I stood at one end of the hallway and I counted 3. And I said, if you don't open up this door, I come in through it. And I put on my sneakers.
Stop that man.
Listen, this is how I knew that this wasn't it. Because at that point, now I have 3 kids. So I have 3 kids, and I laced up my tennis shoes and my short pants. Girl, I should make this. But I sat on one end of the hallway and I run straight through the door and I kicked the door down. And I was like, I tell you, don't knock on doors in here. Like, you can't come home at 3 o'clock in the morning and expect to be raised and holding here. It's not going to work. You're going to be vomiting all over my sheets. You're going to be doing this. No, not today. If you can't find a respectable time to come home, then you sleep something else. I refuse to sleep on the floor tonight. He's like, oh, this is what you want? This. He started carrying on that. Like, I'm going to be in this bed. And we had a sledgehammer. And not my proudest moment. But it was the moment that made me realize, Shakara, you need to go. So I went back and I said, if you close this door again, it was the biggest joke. He was sitting down on a little thing playing this game. And I was like, break up everything in this house. Like everything. And I went back in the kitchen and I got the sledgehammer and I break the bed. And then he started up. Oh, what you do? I said, if you get up off that chair, I will kill you in here tonight. So if I was you, I would sit there and I would shut up. And he started asking, oh, I can call the police. I said, call the police. I've already filed 2 police reports. So I can tell you this much. If I was to kill you tonight, it would be in self-defense. And I wonder who you think they're going to believe. Because everything in here is broken. I already broken the TV, the game, the bed, the door. And I was like, so who do you think they're going to believe? Like, you think about that. Let that sit in with your college education. You sit there and think about that. But I'm telling you this. If you get up off that chair, you're a dead man. And then when I was done, I just got my stuff and I went in the room with the kids. And I just heard when everything. So he left, and then his mom called, and he was like, oh, he said you tried to kill him. I said, that's all. Real good night. And from that day to this, I think that was the most that anybody has ever really tried to reach out and offer assistance. And then I said, I was going home because my mommy always said to me, Karen, you don't need to wait to come home. You could always, there's enough space
My
there.
daddy said it to me too.
Yeah, and it ain't even like I didn't have no place to go. My friend used to say, Carol, you can know when you had it. And it was that moment that I knew that I had enough.
That was your one day out of
That was
7.
it. And I was like, I can't do it. I said, I rather suffer, like sleep in my car. And I had my cousins call, the neighbors call, the people from church started calling. And I said, don't call me now. Like, this been 3 years in, 4 years in, when I was calling y'all, but y'all being, don't call me because I ain't interested. I'm not interested because when I spoke this time, I know this mommy told me, she's like, you need to understand it. Maybe if you didn't talk to me, you tried to have a conversation, I know why I done this, and that wasn't the right time. I said, so when is the right time? And when is that ever going to be the right time for me to say, hey, I'm not really happy? And he used to say, if you ain't happy, then just leave for the upside down. He said, no, you know what? When my children was young, I used to leave work, and I used to go home, and I used to listen. She said, this was the kick of time. She said, you need to take your panty seats and do it like this. I was like, no, ma'am, thank you. And I picked up my purse out the house and that was it. I said, no, that's okay. And from at this point now,
Now I know your mouth, Carol. I know your mouth. I know your mouth.
It was bad,
right?
But
And I know how you can get when you have gotten to a place where,
yeah,
right? But my question is, in the relationship, could you honestly say that? Because we tend to just focus on the negative and on the bad. Because now looking back at it, when I came out of it, I used to say, "Oh, he did this and he that and he did this and he did that," not saying what I did.
Well, okay, so
you see what I'm saying?
I understand.
So,
and I told you when we first started, so I never hide from that. If I was thinking it, I would say it. And then eventually, and it was a respect thing because I'm dating a guy now, and sometimes it's like, okay, God, don't say that because and so it wasn't because I didn't know how to do it. I just chose not to because there are a lot of times when I am upset and I like another struggle, but I first plenty. And so my thing is, my current boyfriend, he doesn't like me first. Okay, don't do it. And so when I get really upset, if I could manage to have a conversation with you without cursing, then that means I know that I can do it. Because there's a certain level of respect there.
Yeah. Yeah.
For him, no. And he'd tell you in our divorce papers all the names that I would call him. And it's true. It is true. And the issue is that I can't respect somebody who has no respect for me. That's my thing. So if your job as my husband was to protect me and you fail to do that, I owe you nothing. I owe you nothing. It wasn't all bad. Like we went on family vacations and there was some good times. But to me, the bad days outweigh the good days. And I have daughters. I have a son.
Listen to me.
And so I don't want my children. And that was it. It was. I remember one evening coming out of the bathroom. I don't remember what the argument was about, but and my lips started to bleed, and I was like, "Oh, baby, you okay?" And I was like, "Now my children are gonna think that this is what love's supposed to be like." And a lot of these things they don't know. And I spent the majority of our divorce time, just being the bigger person, taking the higher road. I had people call me everything but a child of God, like everything. I'm a terrible parent. I was a terrible wife. I was out there whoring. I had somebody, his father prophesied that he was going to find out who the third person in our marriage was in 7 days. Yeah, them same 7 days, homegirl had, and she tells me, open up and then the 7 days.
But stop it, I say stop it. I need you to be able to say
I never knew who the other person was, but the war still going through. So I just want to, it's like, you can't, yes, I was wrong. Yes, I did some things that, I should not have done. But all in all, I felt like I gave up my right to make it better. Like, when I finally decided I am going to file for a divorce, a couple years and my uncle was like, I can give you money. I'll just go and see, go see him and you pay for it. And when I decided that I can take my own money, my hard-earned money, and pay in excess of $7,000 plus, like the lady gave me a discount because the bill was rebel for $12,000. Like to get a divorce from this person, that was a sacrifice that I decided to make because I just could not do it. I just couldn't. I was no more going back. It was no more let's fix it. It was no more let's get counsel. I'm like, no, who you and everything you stand for. Like it was, I just had enough. Like I just couldn't do it.
You
I
know,
couldn't.
and as we are having this conversation, I can't help uh, but to think of, at the end of this, the comments, the the negativity, and even watching now. But like you said, at the end of the day, we're not interested in the sugarcoating. We're not interested in how you feel. You want to know why? You didn't live it. Right. So the thing is, and I want to applaud you because it's not easy to sit here sharing your story and sharing the words, the experience of prominent people in the church.
Yeah.
And see, and that's the thing because a lot of people like you can't be going up there and you're talking about the bishop and the bishop wife. If the bishop wrong, the bishop wrong. If the bishop wife wrong, she wrong. If you wrong, how are you wrong? So here's the thing: what are we going to do to fix it? That is it. We just need it to be fixed because we don't want this because it is a cycle.
It is. And
It's a
see,
cycle.
that's the problem. That right there, Tommy, is the problem. Because generational curses don't start just now. And the
Exactly.
only way that you're going to address generational curses is to go back generations. And so for me, and like they told you, I was in church. So I know what the praying, I know what the fasting, I know what the reading scripture, and I know about that. And so for me, it was like this is something that is much deeper than just me and my kids and my now ex-husband. Like this needs to be addressed fundamentally. And a lot of I found that one of the reasons why a lot of times things aren't addressed is because we spend so much time pretending. I can't fix an issue or I can't help you fix a problem if you continue to pretend that you don't have a problem.
I had to learn
So
that.
yeah,
I
and
had to
so
learn that.
I spent a lot of time like put on my makeup. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I waved when I was supposed to wave. I clapped my hands when I was supposed to clap. And to me, nobody really could say Shakara needs help because I don't look like I need help. I don't act like I need help. But when it got down to the nitty gritty, I had to start telling people. And that for a long time, I think that's why a lot of people are signing like I was ashamed. And I was like, why am I ashamed?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't do this to myself. It took me a very long time to realize that yes, I have faults. Yes, I have some really bad days. Yes, I
Who
have a
doesn't?
terrible temper. Yes, there are sometimes I say some things that I really shouldn't say.
Mhm.
But you know something? At the end of the day, I have nothing to be ashamed of. I didn't do this to myself. And a lot of people point the finger at the victim. You should have done this. You should have done that. No, you should have controlled yourself. And I think that is, especially now, and we have a lot of domestic violence going on. And people say, oh, she should have that, she should have done this. But it ain't really as easy as people make it seem.
This is true.
And like for me, I was able to get out in time. And I honestly believe that if I had stayed there any longer, either I was going to jail or he was going to jail. And then my children wouldn't have no parents.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of, it's a lot harder for you to decide that I'm going to get up and walk away from a life where I was comfortable,
Mhm.
for lack of a better word, um, than people really give you credit for. And that one of the moments that made me realize that was the last police report that I filed. I had to go to A&E. And I remember going to A&E. My dad was a doctor. As a periodically he'd be in A&E. And I was so scared. I was like, I go to A&E and I tell people my name and they don't go figure out who I am. Like I was so afraid. And I remember sitting in triage and I had my head down. I was covered in a little blanket. I had on my sleeping clothes and I was like, maybe the nurse was like, what's your name? And she's like, what? And I was like, she's like, you register? And I was like, and so she was like, Bess, you're gonna need to speak up. She was biggity too. And she was like, I was like, I was afraid. And so she went through a list of papers. She's like, I don't see no Shakara Johnson here. And I was like, um, And the spin round, she spin round, and it was a woman from church, and I was the word I said. And it was like, and I remember the look and she was like, oh, yeah, Daddy would be so hurt if he knew he was here. Like, don't tell me that. And and she was like, something, and she sat down and like, you know, she's a church person, like they come to church, but she was in like church people, that kind of way. So she was really good. She was like, y'all need to stop doing this and this, that, and the next, and to this day, like that was the longest hour. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and A&E, like people talking. I was like, oh, and she helped me. Listen, I thank God for her. I'm not gonna call her name, but she sat down and she asked with me, and she was like, whenever you're ready, like you just need to wake up and say, I see it happening. Like my daughter this, and she told me some stories, and she walked me through it. She took me to the doctor, and then she made sure that I was like, I didn't have to wait or anything like that. And it was just the fact that in one of the lowest moments that I had, she didn't judge me. And she was like, she didn't judge me, and she was more real to me than any of the pastors or ministers that I was going to, and she was just doing her job. It just so happened that I also knew her from church, and it was like that moment I was like, something people already know. Like I know she telling me she ain't gonna tell nobody, but I know once I leave out of here, people are gonna know. And at this point, it makes no sense to me hiding. And I decided that it's either I take control of the story and like rise from the ashes, or I allow this to bury me. And then I started living my life a little bit differently. Like if you ask me a question, I say yes. You okay? No, I'm not okay. And so it was like it brought about a change in the way that I approached a lot of things. Like I was no longer pretending to be happy in a situation where I wasn't happy. But I didn't feel like showing up. I don't care how many invitations you send to me, and I come. Like you say I'm a student, I don't want to come to watch night service. I don't want to sit in the front. I sit in the balcony. And like I had to start, like I had to retell the story. And that is a part of why I thought that this was important, because there are so many people like young girls. Like they may not have abusive husbands. They may have toxic partners. They may have other issues, but people need to realize that you can go through it and you don't have to look like you're going through it, and you can still come out on top.
Exactly.
And I think, yeah, you could still come out on top. And that is where I am now. I went through, people ask me, like, that was probably one of the hardest moments in my life, apart from my mom. She passed in. And so, and that was one of the darkest moments. And it made me realize that you have to have people who are going to support you. My boyfriend now, Mark, I haven't called his whole name, that's in case people are there. But he is probably one of the brightest sparks that I would have found in the last couple of years. Like when I said I took a big hit, it was like none other than it was maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I remember sitting on the bed and I was like, why is God doing this to me? Like, why am I being punished? Why am I suffering? And I sat there and I cried, and he was like, you can't be this God. And it was just okay, I have somebody who's gonna tell me, okay, now you're being silly. And he said, you're being silly. And it was like, and that's what he was like, look at everything that you've accomplished so far. You think you could have done that on your own? And I'm like, and so to me, even though I would have lost faith in religion, I think that God still put people in my life who say to me, listen, you know that stop worrying about stuff. And I just watch life. Be different. And Mark, is one of the, like, on a daily basis. And I tell him often I appreciate him. But I think he underestimates the level of appreciation just because people say things. But I think without, like, when we have issues, or if I'm having an issue, his second reaction is, okay, let's pray on it. And at night time, I'd be, okay, did you pray? Like when I was telling Lord, this is like, make sure you pray. And when I was leaving, I was like, you can't pray. It was like, and that has become one of the things that I look forward to the most. There are a lot of things that make me smile, but even in the morning, it's like, okay, that's really before you go. And, you know, that's more of what you kind of look for when you look for things. And he's like, you know, you can't give up. Like, you can't give up on God. Yeah, you can't. And then he lists the things like, I work. I make enough money to take care of myself and my kids, like with very little help. And we don't want for anything. We don't need for anything. And he said, how do you think you're doing that? And so when I sit there and I question God, he is like, yeah, but God did this, and he did that, and he did that, and he did this. And I'm like, wow. So it'll be like, it is like, that is one of the, that to me is what keeps me like sticking to it with God. I have, because she would message me, she's like, I still praying, and I said, please don't stop praying. A lot of that, you know, people say your grandmother's prayers are the reason why you still alive. When my mom died, I was like, oh, pray for me. And I said that to God. I was like, wow, you know, she used to plead the blood over me before I leave the house. Now, you take my money. I don't know. Who gonna pray for me? Like, I was mad. Like, you know, I was like, who gonna pray for me? And who's gonna plead the blood over me? And who gonna do these things? And then every so often, Elka would text me. She's like, pray for you, darling. And I'm like, I still want to move back to the time. So it has been like, you know, God it's a struggle sometimes because I feel like a lot of things should have went differently. And I have no control over that. But you know what Darlene said? She used to tell me, she used to say, we just pray for things and we don't even know how we can get them. Like, how are you gonna have a testimony with no testimony? I was like, I don't want to be tested. I just want to be able to help people. And she was like, no, you have to have an authentic oil. And I've never forgotten that same retreat where I was like, I don't want to be a part of nothing. And she said, you need to have an authentic oil. And as time goes on, I'm like, you know something? She's right. Like, she's right. There are young women out there who could probably, like, I am my early 30s, but I'm a very young person. And I'm a single mom, but I go to work every day. I recently started a business. And yes, thank you. And like, I'm doing things that most people, when you look at, she went through all of this, will not be able to do. And it's not because I'm special. Like, I literally just graduated from college in November. I graduated the day after my mommy died. It was like, yeah. And so, and then like I have no master's degree. And it's nothing special. Like, there's nothing really special about me other than being willing to be whatever it is. And that's what makes the difference. That makes the difference, yes. But when people look at you, they be like, oh, she can't have no this, she can't have no this, she can't have no that. Yeah. And God is like, so, but that's the one that I want. Like, that's the one who is probably going to touch more lives.
You're real, you're authentic, you're relatable. You see what I'm saying? And regardless of who you are, where you are, as long as you're one of those, people will understand. People will see you for who you are. It doesn't matter what you're going through, what you've been through, because you could go through something horrible, but your attitude stinks.
Yeah.
You can sugarcoat and so nobody interested in that, you know. And you said something like I could totally agree with, you know. And a lot of people, which now would bring me to my question, a lot of people would, in what probably would have gone through what you went through, may not have had the courage to sit here and share the whole story. I didn't intend for her to go in detail in some stuff, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, moving forward from this life, because I will guarantee you, there are going to be people that's going to be coming. Don't come for me. And if you're coming for me, you better be prepared what you will get.
If you don't, you bring your checkbook.
My
That's
stomach's
the
not
only
gonna
way
be
your
just
opinion. That's the
No,
only
but
way
you know
your
what,
opinion
for-
matters. Like at the end of the day, this is what, like, this is my experience. Your experience
Yeah, and
with
that's what it
somebody
is at the end of the
might
day.
be different.
You know,
But this
all
is
fun and
this
jokes
is,
aside.
This is my experience.
You know,
Like,
and that's the
like
thing.
I'm not being paid. Like I'm not.
No, I'm not paying her. I
I'm
didn't
not
even want to
getting
say
paid
into
to sit
this.
here.
She came, and see, and this is the beauty of it. She reached out to me and she said, Tammy, I am ready to sell my story. I said, what? Are you sure? Listen, are you absolutely sure? Which brings me to my next question. Closure.
Sometimes you don't get it, and that was a harsh reality for me. Sometimes you don't get it. For me, my success now is closure enough. I still have a struggle with my kids. Like I love them, but some days I don't like them. Like they're a constant reminder of a very hard time in my life. I don't treat them any differently. I wish they would treat me better. You know, children will be children, but I don't. I have. That's it, and that's really all it is. I don't. I'm not gonna get an apology. I don't expect to get an apology. I don't expect that one day anybody's gonna miraculously start doing things differently. I don't expect that. What I do expect though is that I'm going to continue to succeed. A lot of people say your best revenge is success. You ought to say your best revenge is your paper. That's it. And that's all I can do now. I don't have to look back and answer every response that is made. I don't have to look back and try to set anybody's record straight. As a matter of fact, I don't ever have to darken another doorstep of any of those churches ever again in life. That doesn't change who I am. Like wherever I go, I am exactly who I am.
Yeah.
And you can either accept me as I am or not, but it's your loss. I'm an awesome person.
Of course you are.
I'm an awesome person.
Of course, you know. And you know, one of the things as a mother and as a woman in a relationship like this, we have to be mindful as to the things we say and the things we do because the children are watching.
Yeah,
One,
that's
and we have to be able to answer the questions that they're going to ask because
important.
they just listen to me. And so we have to get to the place where when they do ask the question, you're in the right frame of mind and you have prepared yourself and healed. You know, I am now at a place where I can pick up the phone and call Shane and we can have a conversation. I would not roll my eyes. I wouldn't cut my eye. I wouldn't say no word.
Yeah,
And this comes over time, you know, and it was not always like that. But over the course of time of me releasing and letting go and understand that, listen, you staying angry and bitter and mad, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not. It's only going to cause. I've had days, Shakara, where I allowed the anger, the bitterness, and the frustration get to me where I pulled away from everybody. My family, and the thing about it is, to me, I had it covered up. I was always smiling. I was happy-go-lucky, but my family saw it different. And after the fact, I'm now learning that they knew and they saw different, and they
And I
they
think
could
that's
they could they
Yeah.
could have encouraged me. They encouraged me, and they could have said all that they wanted. But until I got to the point now where I said, you know what? I am not going to allow this to get to me anymore. I am
Yeah.
not going to go through this anymore. I had to be the one to make up in my mind and say that, listen,
you have to choose yourself.
and I love me. Oh my God.
Like sometimes you have to pick yourself. A lot of times people look at it as being selfish, but sometimes you just have to say, I choose me, and whoever's unhappy with that, then it's not really. But you have to choose yourself.
Yeah.
And when you're in situations like that, choosing yourself sometimes feels like the hardest decision. Just because there's so many other expectations. Like people expect you to be wife, mom, youth leader, children's church teacher, inner circle president, choir directors. Like they expect you to do so many things, but at some point you have to say, you know something, Like I can't be there for you, Paul. I can't be all this stuff.
No,
I
no.
can't. And so at some point you have to say, no, I respectfully I decline, and you have to do what is best for you in that moment. And sometimes it's going to disappoint a lot of people, but
Mhm.
I help it.
You know, and sad to say, sometimes it gets to a point where, like you said, whatever, and many times it shouldn't get to that point.
Shouldn't.
It shouldn't, but the reality is sometimes it do. And so for persons now that are watching and then watching later, and for those of you who are tuning in and listening to this conversation, you may know someone that's probably going through this, or you yourself may be going through a situation not exactly like what we're talking about, but you can identify to something else. Um, my suggestion is don't wait until it's too late. Talk about it, share your story. Don't allow your circumstances and the people to keep you secluded from everyone and keep you just from not being who you are, and it's easier said than done. We've lived it, we've been there, so we know how it is. But the more you try, or the each step you take, I guarantee you, the easier it becomes. Where you can say, you know what, I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. And it's so important, like you said, to have people that support you and understand. You have to have that support team where you can confide in at least one human to say, listen, this is what I'm going through. If you're telling your story to other persons and they're not responding how they need to or they should, not being biased in any way, but just looking at the situation and being honest and real,
And that person is trying to help you out.
You see? So you have to listen, your life, it's valuable, it's precious, and it's not supposed to be where you are confined in a situation where you are constantly in depression, you are constantly fighting for your life, you are constantly unhappy. God didn't make us that way. We weren't designed to go through that, but circumstances, would say otherwise. But there's a song that I can't remember who says it, but the words of it, a man is still a man, whether he wears jacket and tie and walk barefoot. Morgan Heritage.
Yes.
Right. That is so true. That
only difference is when you go to
listen to me. Let me say it again. Let me see because I can't remember the words. How'd go? A man is still a man. Whether he
My
wears
daddy was
that
always
y'all know what I'm talking about. Google it.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? The only thing that matters if he's good or he's evil.
Yes.
Be it he or she. You know what I mean? Listen, people. We are here to uplift, encourage, build, motivate, and encourage each other, not tear down, not pull down, not discriminate. Because at the end of the day, the seeds of negativity that you're sowing, it's going to come back to you. And when it come back to you, and you know what they say about trauma, not a word.
What she said.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so we have to be careful. We have to be mindful of the things that we say and we do, especially as God-fearing people. People look up to church folk, people in leadership, but when you are doing things that are not standard, listen, if you can go on the pulpit and you can say holiness is the standard of God, but you're going to come down to me and tell me I shouldn't do it. And then when I blink my eye, I see you in a nightclub. I see you coming out your sweetheart house.
All right,
who are you coming to talk to? But then when I openly say that, listen, I got issues I need to deal with, how you going to help me? What you going to do? What advice you going to get? And you going to brush me off? I going to need you to recheck yourself. That's it. Just be real about it. You know what I'm saying?
And you know something with COVID? This was like this. But COVID has probably changed the way the world that not probably it has. It changed the way that people do things. We don't even formally go to church the way that we used to.
is
about
true.
it. And
This is
so
true.
a lot of churches, and I'm sure they may have seen it, like there's a drop off in attendance, mainly because people was only doing it out of tradition. Really authentic. Like you can have 100 people in church, but only really have like 5 people in church. And so if you don't foster genuine relationships with the people in your membership and your congregation, then you're gonna lose a lot. And I find that there are a lot of young people that are falling away from the formal church because, like you said, that you can't be living in sin and then come and tell me, hey, you living in sin, you going to hell. No, we going to hell because the two of us living in sin. Like you can't. And,
like, come on.
but our generation, like we ain't really doing that no more. Like you can't preach down to me. You living in sin, but then you also living in sin. I'd be like, well, his sin is okay because that's them, but my sin is bad because it's me. No, if I sin it, and you sin it, I save you the seat right here, and we gonna ride the bus together down there because that's just the way that it is. And so if things don't really change, like a lot of young people, like our generation, and then our children, because we're not gonna take our children to church after what is it will be experience. Like I find it hard to take my children to church. And I don't, and if I don't have to, and I started recently trying to get back into it, but that's a struggle. And again, I will only go to church if Mark says, okay, we're going to church on Sunday. And I'm like, okay. But if it's not said to me, Shakara, we're going to church on Sunday, chances are I'm not going to go. Just because I already had that experience and like I don't want to, like I can lay home and be fake. Like why I must get dressed up and go be fake? Like I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do it. And I'm not going to encourage my children to do it. I mean, let's go to church. Like watch it on YouTube. Like go find a link somewhere. And I'd rather them watch that than for me to get dressed and then drive to church for someone to fake me the whole time and then no, I ain't nobody into that no more. And I guess it's gonna cause a huge I don't know what you call it, but that's what it could be. Like, the old people and then it just could be gone.
My auntie Carla? Listen to me. Yes, that's my good humor. That's my good auntie. Listen, many people don't understand her, but I love her dearly. And let me tell you why. And I can only tell you from my experience. She is amongst very few, one of the realest humans you can ever come across. If you're doing something, if I was doing something, hey, what happened? What she tells me. She sit down and she'll have a conversation with me. Now they're saying you, what's going on? But sometimes she would come to me and she would hug me. I don't have to say anything. She'd come and she'd hug me. And then I'd break down crying. You ain't gotta tell me, I know. You ain't gotta tell me, I know. But and that's what I'm talking about. So many people don't have that. And listen, when I say she brutal,
you know how you can tell? Like the Bible says you should test the spirit with the spirit.
Yeah.
There's another, like I read a lot of scripture for someone who's speaking.
But that's all right. That's all right.
Like you have to, sometimes you have to seek God for yourself.
Yes.
And I was just recently told that I don't have the spirit of discernment. And you know what? That might be true. Like I feel like I'm a terrible judge of character sometimes. But I realized though that there are a lot of times when we allow people to speak into our lives, but they ain't really hearing from God. And the challenge with this is like, for instance, at my last women's retreat, I was they like how you've been to the women's retreat before.
Yeah.
And so they was having like this big in the midday prayer and and I didn't go because remember I told you now this is my last one. I really was just there to get the food because
I love the food. The food is vegan.
All you could eat. And you couldn't drink because it was a church function, but all you could eat, access to the hotel or whatever. So I was really just there to this is the last one and let me just make the best of being at the hotel. And I was sitting outside talking and they were having an altar call. And this is how like I wasn't interested in being an altar call because I was outside. And somebody came in there, it's like, so and so looking for you. And I was like, in my head, I said, look at me. For what? Like, they don't know I don't want to be here. But I went anyway, and I was like, I'm not gonna be contrary. I don't want to pull this thing, so I'm gonna go. And then I listened to that person pray. And before, like when people pray, I would just like try to open up my spirit so that you pray and I want to receive whatever. But at that moment, I'm like, oh, what she has to say? And then she started to pray, and she was like, "And I pray for your marriage, and God is gonna heal this and this, that, and next." And in my mind, I said, "This how I know you ain't hearing from God, because me and God done talk with this, and I don't know, and He don't know that this ain't for me." And for the mere fact that you could come down there and prophesy that God say I must go home and stay home because this, that, and next, I know you ain't care for me. So how you could tell me? Because God didn't want me to die. If God wanted me to die, this 2022, this time, maybe 6 years later, I wouldn't have been here. With or without your prophecy. So how could you then tell me that God tell you to tell me? And I said, me and God ain't mad. Tell me that I must do that. And you know what God did? My mommy, who wasn't working, she said, "Carol, how much the lawyer asked you have for your divorce?" And I said, "Mommy, the retainer is $1,500. My mommy ain't never worked. I never, outside of the house, she's never had a job outside of her family." And she said, "Go right in the door. I have $700 for you." And that's what paid the down payment for my attorney that same weekend. And they was telling me, and I didn't tell her about that. I didn't tell her what I was going to do yet. I just told her, I said, "Mommy, I can't do it anymore." She said, "I know. Just how you can come home with you." And I told her, and I said, "Mommy, I can't. Like, it's like no matter what I do, there's always something." And we talked, and it was like, she said, "Get the money, and then when you come back next week, I can have the $700." And this was my mommy. At that time, she would have been, her children probably gave her money for something else. And I'm pretty sure now they know that that's where the money went. But at that time, like I said, like she would have been 80 something. And she was like, "Here, take this money." And she said, "I didn't know what I had it for." And she gave it to me. And I said, "Mommy, I can't take your money. I can take $100." She's like, "No, take the money." And she made sure I put the money in her hand. And she take the money and she push it down in my shirt. She's like, "You go. And when you're ready to come back, your mom always there." And that is where the down payment for my divorce came from. Not because somebody told me that there was no, because I prayed and I said, "God, I don't want to live like this." I had one person over there in the church prophesying that he was going to fix my relationship. And my mommy, who I told her about everything that was going on, and she was like, "Send the money over there, go pay the woman on Monday."
That's kind of deep, because I could attest and I could relate to that too, because I've had persons say to me, "Oh, God said He's gonna do this and He's gonna fix it, He's working on." When you get married, you make a commitment before God.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, it's true, and I totally agree. But at the time,
that's another one of my mommy saying, "He said, bring up my sins, not my sins." Like, at what point you will let your sins begin?
and I had to go to God numerous times. I was back and forth. I said, "God, you know my heart.
Yeah.
This me to you, Tamika, I ain't interested. But if you say I can fix this, I can let it work, I can do this, and you prove it to me, you show it to me. And I don't want nobody coming in my ear whispering or telling me, oh, God said this. I need you to tell me first. So whoever's coming to me, only coming to confirm what you already said to me." And so just like you said, when people used to come to me, it's like, "Oh, God said you can fix it," I look at you dead in your eye.
Because I need to know that, ain't no more that. If you have to figure it out. I don't want to say figure it out for yourself, but you kind of have to figure it out for yourself. Because people only want to tell you, like, you're going to do what is best for you, not what's best for me. So, in this particular situation, safeguarding your facade might be more important than my safety. And, should I allow you, because this is what you want to happen, should I allow you in your position as Tia Tamika to encourage me to do something that I know that I shouldn't be doing just because it's you? No. And that is one of the biggest disappointments that I had with going to church. It's like I expected so much more. Like I gave so much. I guess I expected to get a little bit. And when it was my turn to get, they were like,
You think it was out of the fear of who the
It
parents
shouldn't
are?
matter.
I
It
know.
shouldn't matter, and that's what I used to say. I used to say, if it was somebody else, what would you tell them? Oh, I just think you should. No, what would you tell somebody else? Like if I was Sally Sue, what would you have said to Sally? Would you tell Sally, no, I wouldn't. Let's go home. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. And you know who gave me the best advice? It was my daddy. And he said, if it was your friend Erica who told you that this is what was going on, what would you tell her? Would you tell her to go back home? And I was like, he said, so why would you tell yourself to go back? So if you're going to tell, like, if I'm not going to give that advice to you, because I mean you well, and I want to see my friends succeed, so am I going to continue to encourage her to do something that I know is not good for her? No, I'm not. Am I going to encourage my children to do stuff like they like to eat snacks and stuff? I know that they keep eating snacks because I don't want them to be holy holies. And so, like, sometimes I say to them, no, you cannot have X, Y, and Z. But it's not because it makes me feel good, but it's because I look out for them.
Yeah.
And so that's how you have, that's how I started to take advice. I'm like, when I tell depending on the situation, would I tell so and so to do this? Or would I encourage anybody to continue to do this? So why would I do it? Like, why should I do it?
You know,
And they're not going to do it.
and that's the basis and the premise that we should at least start on, you know. And like you said earlier, the times we live in now, we're not putting up with what our mothers and grandmothers did back then. If you're gonna be real, be real. If you're going to um, be for me, be for me. Just tell me. I prefer you just telling me off the bat, listen now. Oh, just be honest, babe. But the reality is, you know, some persons are not like that. But as we wrap up, because we could go on and talk for hours and hours and hours. But, you know, as we wrap up, I just want you to, in a nutshell, just kind of bring together what we were talking about in terms of surviving abuse, surviving church hurt, and then building from that experience to get up and keep moving to after all of that you've gone through, you still was able to find love. You still was able to be happy. You still was able to accomplish many things that you probably thought you couldn't. And so as someone that have gone through it, how can you now tell somebody else that's in it or thinking about getting out? How do you encourage them? What would you tell them? How would you say, listen, I've been through it? You know?
I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is that you have to start with being honest. Like, nobody can help you if they don't know that you need help. That is one of the biggest takeaways. Like, no one reads minds.
No.
So if you don't at first at least say, listen, this is a problem, nobody's gonna know that it needs to be fixed. And then you have to take away the stigma that's attached to it. Because I mean, I don't think I'm an ugly girl.
No.
I went to private school, so I was educated in the Catholic system. And it could happen to anybody. That's really the point. Like, it could be anybody. Like I said, I married high up. And I thought that you thought that was funny.
Listen, please forgive me.
Anyway,
but anyhow,
I thought that like it could happen, and that's that. But again, that's one of the stigmas that's attached to it. Like, how dare you say? But it could happen. Like, it could happen to anybody. And then at the end of the day, once you realize that this isn't something that is beneficial to you, you have to choose a why.
Yeah.
So for me, my why was my kids. I was still young. I don't want to leave my children to be raised by any and everybody. I may not be perfect, but I want to be the best mom that I can be, no matter what that looks like. And so I don't want them to be left to any and everybody.
I agree.
Like there are a lot of times when I have a, like things make me mad sometimes, and it just is be like, but I just have to say, like, this is the reason why I'm doing a lot of what I'm doing. I don't want them to grow up that way. I don't want my son to grow up feeling like this is how you should treat women. And I don't want my daughters, and worse, don't want my daughters to grow up feeling like this is how men should treat their partners. And so I made the decision. I don't want them to see this. When they started asking questions and saying certain things, and I was like, okay, this isn't going to work for me. And so I found the why. And then after I found my why, I realized I do deserve it.
You
And
deserve it.
I deserve it. Like I deserve to be happy. I have my flaws, like everybody has flaws.
Everybody.
I have my flaws, but I still deserve to be happy. And at the end of the day, there is somebody out there who's going to look at me and say,
It's true.
yeah,
It's true. It's
like,
true. Uh-huh.
you know exactly what I want
I
to say.
know,
So
I
you
know.
have to decide. Like I have to say that I'm enough. Like I am enough for whatever it is. And sometimes like I repeat, okay, you deserve that. You deserve this. Like you earn such and such.
Yeah.
You deserve for someone to love you. Like you have a lot to give, and you should be able to receive that in return.
Mm-hmm.
And so the unfortunate thing is you don't come out of the fire unscathed. And so you may find at the end of the day that, okay, I like this guy and he likes me. And we try to make this work. But I messed up. Like deep down on the inside, like I have issues now. Like I have communication. I might be at like a 0.5. He might say 0, but I feel like every so often I just grow a little bit. So maybe like a 0.5, 6, like or close to 1. But it's a struggle because I came from an area where nobody really wanted to hear what you have to say, and so I constantly have to like now it's a constant reminder that things are different. You can't punish somebody else for the shortcomings of your past, and that's the struggle. So broken pieces, but willing to give you all of my broken pieces, and you have to like it's a conscious effort to work on that. Yeah. And so it doesn't like fix itself right away. No. And there are some days when I'm like, this isn't even no sense. And I just want to quit. And I want to give up on everything. And it's like, okay, why? What is your why? And then you deserve it. And believing that I am enough. Like, yeah. And you have to believe that. And you have to approach every situation as if you're supposed to be there. And it's hard, but every day is a choice. And so that's why you have to choose now. Like don't default to your toxic response, because that's really what it is. Like trauma response, don't default to that. And you have to decide, and you have to own it, and you have to hold your head up high and make your presence known. This is who I am. Unapologetically. This is what I come to get. And you just gotta get it. You gotta believe that God's favor is going to be there. Like I said, someone said to me, God promised to take you. He said that He'll never leave you nor forsake you. So you can go through something, but you can't give up. Like in the middle of it, you can't just quit halfway. And so I would say that my biggest, if I could give advice to any one person, it would be just to know that you deserve more. Like, if this person can't give you what you deserve to have, then that ain't it. And that's really just all it is. Like, you deserve it. You just gotta find the person who's supposed to give it to you.
I agree. And my takeaway in my whole situation is being able to still live, still still be able to do the things that Tamika loves to do. Still be able to have a sound mind, right? Because a lot of times we go through situations and we believe, like you said, that we're not worthy or we're not going to find happiness. We're not going to be successful. We're not going to do the things that we would like to do because depression is a serious thing. And so if you allow the situation to cause you to keep you in that black hole, you will never, ever get out. And it's hard. It is hard because even now, I still have my moments where um, some days I don't want nobody call my name, don't look at me, don't ask me no questions. And it's not like persons have done something. It's just to say almost like a yeah, you know, and I have to constantly, you know, talk to myself, encourage myself, listen, hi, chica, listen. We done been here. You don't know what it is to get out of this. I need you to stay focused. Listen, you are fearfully and wonderfully. I just have to talk to myself, you know, and a lot of times people don't understand the damage that they do, the effects, the long-term effects that they have, you know, and Shane did some stuff to me, and I wouldn't lie to you. I did some stuff out of anger. And it's not until I got to a place where I had to admit some of the things that I did I was wrong for. Yes, I was wrong. And I had to get to a place where I had to fully release it and stop carrying the blame because we tend to do that. We tend to get, oh, it's my fault. And if I didn't do it this way, it wouldn't have happened this way. And then, it just spirals and goes every other direction but where it's supposed to go. And so I had to get to a place where I no longer allowed the seeds that were planted in my mind. You're no good. You're never going to be white material. Uh, all you is good for. And
nobody gonna want you with 3 children. You might as well just stay here.
you know what I'm saying? And so these are the real challenges that persons go through. And then we're not overlooking the men because you do have some men that go through situations, maybe not in like how the women would go through it, but there are some men that would experience, on the other hand. But here's the thing, though,
They don't know how that.
and that's the next.
If they go and put it and tell that to you.
Because the first thing to be like, I'm a man. I
Yeah.
report my wife beat me,
They joke.
but
They're
it's
laughing
real.
right out of the station, but
It's
it's the
real.
truth.
It's real. And so, I had to learn to forgive. I will never forget, but I had to learn to release, forgive, and let go. And when I started to do that, you know, it allowed me now for my present situation to appreciate what I have now. It allows me to look at things a totally different way. Sometimes, we would get a little argument, and I'd be like, I'm not doing it, and I'm Maori. Now I'm Maori, and I'm like, and I have to catch myself, and I'm like, I can't bring over what I was dealt then.
Yeah.
Now, and so all of it is a learning process.
It's
You know?
unlearning.
And so my advice is closure, and the closure doesn't have to be from the other person to you. The closure could be like for me, my closure was I had to let go of all of the hurt, which I'm still working on, the anger and the frustration. I had to let it go. And once I started to do that, when you change your mindset, every single thing around you changes. Everything is it's different, and that's what, like I said, Shane and I now are in a place where, well, he was always willing to talk, willing to communicate. I was just not that type of person. But we're in a place now where we can have a conversation and we're good. But like I said, it didn't happen overnight. It was a conscious decision. It was something that I wanted to prove to my daughters because I got 3 girls and they are watching. And I don't want them to have to say, well, mommy gone through this and mommy settled for that. No. Sometimes you have to be the bigger person and say, listen, at the end of the day, I know where I stand, I know my right. I know what it is to give up my right just to make somebody happy. But you gotta make yourself happy, boo-boo. You do. And so my advice, my encouragement is to you have to love you. You have to realize that you matter. I matter. Thank you, Anika. I have to plug that in. I matter. You know what I mean? And get to the place where everybody else's opinions. And so, and that's just what it is. And so tonight, we hope and we pray that something we said would resonate with you. It may have given you strength. It may have encouraged you to think about getting out of a toxic situation, an abusive situation, and it's not something to be ashamed about. It is not. Some people will hold you to it and remind you of your past, but that's just people. Get up, get out, and make something happen for you. Because at the like I tell my people, I say, listen, when I get older and I sit on my porch swinging my legs and I bustle laughing, I'm gonna be laughing at the memories that I created for me, the memories that made me happy. You know what I mean? And so that's what we want to encourage you to do. We want you to live. We want you to be happy. After everything that you've gone through and you're still standing, that in itself is enough to give God thanks. Because you did not have to be here. You did not have to go through all of that.
When you look at it, so many people just didn't make it. Everything for him.
You understand?
Sure.
And so tonight, I thank you so much for being transparent. I thank you so much for sharing your story, the deepest parts of your story. And like we said, our hope is to encourage and motivate someone. And please, when you talk about this conversation, don't talk about the what is or the what is or the what is or the what is. Praise the Lord. Thank you that she made it out alive. Thank you that she is still here. Thank you, God. I'll give her strength as she continues on to share her story to encourage somebody else. And that's what it's all about. That's what we're here to encourage somebody at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So until the next moment, my darlings, keep it real. Be you, and remember, only you know what you go through, how you gonna deal with it, how you gonna get out of it. One day out of 7, you're gonna make up in your mind that I want better. And don't just say it. Do it. Do it. And so as we close tonight, we say thank you for tuning in. Trap season all. I just had to plug it in there because I was being less mischievous. I know, Lord forgive me.
Look at people.
But the reality is we know and we are well prepared moving forward after this conversation, and it's fine. And we welcome all comments. And as ladies we know exactly how to handle, how to address, how to deal. I will not allow her to say anything because she's still work in progress, and so am I. And so yes, we're gonna leave it at that. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we're gonna see you next week live with Tamika, Truthful Tuesdays, keeping it real. Good night, y'all.
Maya Angelou once said, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. Here at SPF Entertainment and Productions, we as a company are capable of capturing anything that the client wants recorded professionally. Operated by seasoned technicians with more than 20 years of experience in the business. Let us do the footwork for your business. Call us at 465-1362.